Stock market investing for financial independence. I'm Nate, I'm the FitfutureMD. Make sure you shop at Ensorsale.com and pick you up an inspirational t-shirt today. Use code FitfutureMD for 20% off if you're interested. So, you want to be financially independent, right? Thank you for following along with my financial independent journey. So, a big part of financial independence is investing, right? But a lot of what's being pushed out there is that you should just put your money into either ETFs or what's called just other funds, mutual funds, or basically, and those are actively managed funds. They actually manage the funds, but then there's other ones that people don't even manage, right? So they just buy what the stock market looks like based on weight, and that's it. They let it ride, right? Well, I personally don't believe in that, right? Because basically, what's going to happen is you're going to follow whatever the stock market gives, right? And it's averaged 8%, right? So if you're a regular working person that's making 50 or 60,000 a year, the likelihood you get to financial independence with that strategy in 10 years with no other help is unlikely, right? So we have to invest differently, than that, right? We need to be getting, 30% returns, 40% returns. And with that comes extra risk. So this is what I do, right? Or what my strategy would be on that, right? Say I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not advising you financially, but this is what I do, right? So every generation, there are newer companies that rise up out of the woodwork, right? They basically rise up out of nowhere, and they become the top companies in the world, right? And that's one of the things about long-term investing. I think there's only 5. I can't remember exactly what the number is. It's either 5 or 50. I think it's 50. I think there's only 50 companies left from the first time they did the S&P 500, right? So of the top 500 companies in the world at that time, only 50 are left in the top 500, right? So, just because somebody's at the top now, 50 years from there, they're not going to be at the top anymore, right? And we have to think about that when we're talking about, okay, these are our investments that are going to pay us for life and keep us from having to work a 9-to-5 job, right? So that being said, I'm going to allocate a small portion of my stock portfolio into trying to find that needle in a haystack, right? Now for me, that's around $5,000 a year, right? And I'm betting on one thing with $5,000, right? So if you do this as an example, so Tesla, right? If you had bought $5,000 in Tesla in 2010 or 2011 or 2012, right now, 10 years later, just on that one investment, you would be a millionaire, right? Just on that one investment, right? And so we're going to give ourselves a chance every year for 10 years, we're going to give ourselves at least one chance for that to happen to us, right? And So that's one of the strategies that I do that's different than what's being pushed out there, right? Like what's being pushed out there is just put your money into a fund and let it sit and don't worry about it, right? No, every day I'm taking 5 minutes and I'm looking for the next thing. What could be the next thing? And, you know, like I say, I mean, you could just keep naming stocks, right? Lululemon, Nvidia, Netflix, Amazon, right? All these companies were dirt, trash companies in the stock market. And if you put $5,000 in them 10 years ago, you would be a millionaire, right? All the investors, like, so Nvidia's having a problem right now because they paid their people in stock instead of high salaries. Well, now all that stock has them being millionaires. So why would they continue to work for Nvidia when they could sell their stock and just retire, right? Like they literally are having that problem right now. So imagine what it would have been for you, you know, if you had invested in Nvidia, right? So that's what we're looking for to get higher returns than just the regular stock market. Now, anytime you start talking about investing, you start comparing different types of investments, right? Whether that be into gold and silver or whether that be into real estate, right? And yes, at a certain time, $5,000 or less, you know, USDA loans can get you control of a big asset like a house or a fourplex or whatever, and can get you in there for a very cheap price, right? And in my particular location, you know, our house has, you know, 200% on us, right? Which is great because it's a leveraged thing, right? So you're not 200% your $5,000, you know, you're 200%, you know, $150,000, right? So yes, absolutely. You have to compare where you're putting your money, right? But to get those 2,000, 10,000% returns, that's what you have to do. You have to find that needle in a haystack. And the likelihood that you hit one in 10 years can be kind of high, right? And if you don't hit it, you only missed, you know, $50,000 in 10 years, right? Which is literally nothing when you start thinking about, you know, how much you're going to be investing, right? So $5,000 of your 15% investments every year go into what I call the needle in the haystack, right? So, you know, when, you know, they start saying electric vehicles and all that stuff by 2030, I'm sitting here like, well, what companies could get there, right? You know, when we start talking about the future, right? So keep that in mind. Find your needle in the haystack. Now, the second thing I'm going to do is they want you to invest in these funds. Well, number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go see what these funds are invested in, right? I'm going to look it up. It's all public knowledge. And I'm going to probably start investing in the top 10 of their percentage of their portfolio that have high dividends right off the bat, right? Like, I'm not going to say, because there's a certain amount of things you can keep up with, right? Keep up with the news, keep up with that kind of stuff, and it's usually between 10 and 20 stocks, right? So the top 10 is probably what I'm going to be investing in, right? That being said, I also like legacy companies, you know, on things that have high dividends. Example of that is Ford, AT&T, General Motors, General Electric, right? General Electric's had one of the best years ever. 58%, I think, is what they're up this year. So keep that in mind. Since owning Ford, it's gone from $7 to $28, back down to $11, right? So keep that in mind as well. That stocks are volatile, right? So as long as the company's still a good company, you're going to continue to have the company, right? So, but those are just an example of legacy companies. Not saying to invest in them. But yeah, so then the idea is that in 10 years, you have enough money to retire, right? And to be financially independent, to be able to choose what you want to do, right? So for instance, you know, if you wanted to be a football coach at a high school and make $30,000 a year and always, you know, never be secure in your job, always be about to be fired or being second guessed or whatever, but because you love the game of football, or maybe you just want to volunteer as an assistant coach or whatever, you could go do that if you're financially independent. If you're not financially independent, you're over there struggling, making $70 a week, you know, a little extra on the side for being there, right? You're away from your family, like you're making sacrifices that are unnecessary, right? Or that don't make any sense when you're a regular 9-to-5 employee, right? Stuff like that. You want to be a painter. You want to play music for a living, right? Like all that stuff where you would struggle to make it. If you work hard for 10 years and become financially independent, you know, and even better if you can get on the millionaire fast lane, like I'm trying to do with Ensorsale, right? I'm selling cool inspirational t-shirts, you know, that kind of thing, then you can, you know, really become financially independent quickly, you know, if it works, right? So, you know, if you don't follow us on Instagram, you know, make sure you do that at FitfutureMD, at Ensorsale. You know, check out what we're doing. You know, I put inspirational stuff up there almost every day for you guys. So make sure you check that out. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, run us up. Like, let's get financially independent here, because, you know, the simple fact is, you know, there's no use to continue to live a way that you hate, continue to work a job you hate, continue not to have a fulfilled life, to continue not being able to help people that need help, right? That's what financial independence is going to get you, and that's what we're headed for. I'm Nate. I'm the FitfutureMD. Appreciate you for following along my financial independence journey, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.